Is this the time to buy or sell Microsoft? So first off, read this disclaimer carefully. And do your good deed of the day by liking and subscribing. So I have a theme here that I call Business Artificial Intelligence / Machine Learning. 29% from the 52-week low, which is substantially beating the S&P 500. But it is down more, so minus 46%. So Microsoft is on top here, software and analytics. 11-ish% here from the low and minus 23% away from the highs. Here is Microsoft's website. Yeah, I mean, this company doesn't need a whole lot of introduction, but their portfolio is a bit broader than many people are aware of. They are the company behind, the Xbox, and they are trying to make inroads into the laptop, hardware market, and been some experiments with smartphones as well. One of the things that everyone is waiting for them to do, which they guaranteed, they will, that is to do something in terms of VR, artificial reality, augmented reality, that entire thing. Because they are competing with, PlayStation, and they have done, quite a bit in terms of VR. So yeah, Microsoft, they will make a move soon, but it's not really, few really know what they are going to do. There's been some talks about holograms, but holograms are still, still at an early stage. But yeah, here is the chart. Big picture, this company, it's gone up a lot, since it went public. But now it is a company with a lot of market cap, so it can't go up, super big like it once did. We have seen a pretty clear rounding top pattern here. We could also argue that this looks a bit head and shoulder-ish. So these are bearish patterns. But throughout a rounding top-ish pattern, and also, head and shoulders, you will have some counter-trend rallies. So if you look at the previous counter-trend rally in the downtrend, it was this one, but that was 1 week. Here we had a little bit of a rally, here as well. So throughout this downtrend, Microsoft has had these times where the bulls fought back, but very temporarily. The exception would be here 1, 2, and the 3. That was, more beneficial to the bulls. But I definitively understand why bulls are a bit worried about this current candlestick, because yes, it is bullish, but we have seen this before from this stock. When we go here to the daily data points, that is when we can see what the bears are really into at the moment. And that is this green 50-day moving average. It is definitively a moving average that matters. And the bears are putting on short positions at that resistance level. So let's look at some of these other indicators. So, I mean, in terms of RSI, we are coming from a low level, so we are sort of quote-unquote due a more substantial rally. MACD also very low, PPOs as well, suppressed, daily data points. So looking at, the RSIs that we have had here throughout this year, 2022, we see that we are in a dangerous RSI territory. So previous times where we have been at these levels, we usually have seen some tops in these, counter trend rallies. The exception would be this rally here in March, but that one's failed spectacularly. So what I write is 50 daily moving average and daily RSI resistance. So I give the bears a 4 here, but that, -4 is of course completely dependent on these levels. If we were to break out above it, to smash through the 50 daily moving average and establish new levels on the RSI, then that, would be bullish. But currently, it is pretty clear what the bears are going to act on. And you also had, the issue that looking at the weekly candlesticks, the previous counter trend rallies from the bulls have been very, very short term. So let's look at the seasonality here for Microsoft. So to the right here, the seasonality is pretty decent over the last 5 years in green. 7 years in blue, it's a bit, it's overall bullish. And 10 years in red here, it is overall favorable to the bulls. Looking to the left, over the last 5 years, June is a pretty decent month. July and August are very, very strong. The last 10 years, July and August are some of the strongest months for Microsoft, but June is the weakest, and we are not really done with June yet. Over the last 20 years, so June is 50-50, but July closes higher 68% of the time, and August closes higher 74% of the time. So I will give the bulls a 6 here on seasonality. This is very strong seasonality that will intimidate the bears. So even though the bears, they do have some very nice levels here on the technicals, they have reason to be worried about July and August. So let's look at the fundamentals. So a number 3 hold here on SACS. So basically just undecided. D value score, so notwithstanding the pullback, not that much value here yet, but we have a growth, so B growth, that is good, and C momentum is also decent. The industry rank is in the top 44%, which is also, decent, not really good, but not bad, obviously. Market cap is $2 trillion. That is that's a lot. That's big, very, very big. Dividend is around 1%. If we go here to the insiders, so we do have some buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, sell. So most of the recent moves have been accumulation. So insiders are buying, and that is bullish. In terms of the consensus estimates, then we do have 47 analysts covering this stock with an average 34% upside price target. Highest is 54-ish% above us, and the lowest is 11% above us. Lowest. So I think I will give the bulls a 4 here on fundamentals. It looks good. Let's look at correlations. So 96% positive with the S&P 500, 99% with the technology ETF XLK, 96% with the semiconductor ETF SMH, and 75% with FDN, which is the internet ETF. Then you have short term, that is 95% SPY, 98% XLK, 96 on the semiconductors, and 98-ish on the internet ETF. So what happens with the XLK is going to have the biggest impact on Microsoft. So what is happening here with the XLK? The chart looks very similar to what we saw with Microsoft. When we look here in terms of, how long the counter trend rallies last. The problem here, though, for the bulls is that this, counter trend rally was 1 week only. But in this case, 1 week, but here we do get, let's make it a bit blue. 1 and the 2, 1, 2, 3. So in terms of the XLK, maybe we get 2, potentially. But the issue is that the previous, time the bulls fought back, they only managed 1 week until they ran out of confidence. What is interesting, though, is that we are at a very low RSI level, really low indeed. The previous time we had, this low, uh, that is when you got that, counter trend, but that was so short term. But let's go a bit further back. So this is back during the C19 lockdown, but that was just a completely different context. Late 2018. So let's look at late 2018. So it's here. Yeah, in that case, this RSI level was, it marked a major reversal. But well, the interesting thing actually about this period here, back in 2018, is that here you have like this, okay, sort of 2 weeks rally, but mediocre. Then you have one, then the bears come back, bulls try a bit, then the bears come back, bulls try for 1 week, but then the bears are a bit intimidating the previous week. But what happened in that case is that you see that you have like one candlestick, then the bulls really just get very, very, very confident. So it goes to show you that if we were able to get multiple weeks here of bulls making progress, then we could get a self-reinforcing feedback loop. Now looking quickly here at daily data points, yeah, the purple 20-day moving average could become a resistance here, but it's not. The 20-day moving average is not as forceful as a resistance level as the 50-day. So the bulls should be able to challenge it a bit. And if the bulls are not able to challenge that level, then that is a major tell. So here is the relationship between Microsoft and the technology ETF, the XLK. So Microsoft, it did outperform for quite some time, then entered a bit of a messy phase. I think it is a bit clearer to see here on the daily data points. So let me show you. It looks a lot like we are forming a pretty substantial inverse head and shoulders pattern. So you could argue that this is a shoulder, this is a head, and that this is a bit of a messy shoulder. Or you could say that here is the inverse head and shoulders pattern, like that. So there's many ways to sort of draw it, but the logic is similar. We have had a change from the bears being in control to the bulls really pushing, and we see recently as well higher highs. Not yet taken out these levels here from October 2021, but this looks more bullish than bearish. Let's look here at seasonality. So over the last 5 years and 7 and 10, Microsoft usually outperforms the XLK leading into the 11th of July. Let's now compare the technology ETF with the S&P 500. So in this case, there is a pattern here that is potentially a bit dangerous because this looks like a protracted left shoulder. This could be the head, and this could form a right shoulder. And so it's very important now for the bulls, the tech bulls, to really push us above, the highs here of the left shoulder. Because if not, then this would be a major topping pattern, like formed over years, and they are a very big deal. Let's look a bit here at the seasonality, like that. So over the last 5 years in green, 7 in the blue, and 10 years in red, tech usually beats the S&P 500 leading up until the 21st of July. So that is bullish. I think I will give Microsoft a 4 here on relative performance. Saw some interesting relationship vis-a-vis the tech ETF, and the tech ETF is also very interesting vis-a-vis the S&P 500. So we could have a period now that is beneficial to tech. So overall, we do end up with a 2.5 score for Microsoft, which is, more bullish than bearish. The caveat is that the entry signal stop loss is bearish. So we are still at 50 daily moving average and RSI resistance. So it is very important now for the bulls to push through those levels, because I guarantee you there were bears putting on positions right at those levels on Friday as well. So, and what happens to Microsoft is due to the market cap. It's a very big deal also for the major indexes. So yeah, definitively want to have on your radar for the coming week.